What if I told you that the food on an ancient human's menu looked nothing like the way most people imagine it? No supermarket, no refrigerator, no food delivery, no guaranteed breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And yet, humans survived across some of the harshest environments on Earth. So what were they actually eating? The surprising answer is that there was no single ancient human diet. What people ate depended on where they lived, what season it was, what animals and plants were available, and how much energy they could afford to spend getting food. In other words, the ancient human diet wasn't a menu. It was a survival strategy. For early hunter-gatherers, food could come from almost anywhere. Meat, fish, shellfish, eggs, fruits, nuts, seeds, roots, tubers, leaves, honey, insects, and other edible resources could all become part of the diet. But here's where the popular image of ancient humans starts to fall apart. They were not simply eating huge amounts of meat every day. Archaeological and anthropological evidence shows that hunter-gatherer diets varied enormously between environments. Some communities depended heavily on animal foods. Others obtained a large share of their calories from plants and other gathered resources. Coastal populations could exploit fish and shellfish. People living in forests had access to fruits, nuts, tubers, and small animals. In colder environments, animal fat and meat could become much more important. The key was flexibility. If one food disappeared, humans needed alternatives. And that ability to eat a wide range of foods may have been one of our species' greatest advantages. But finding food was only half the problem. Ancient humans also had to make that food usable. Imagine finding a tough root buried underground. Raw, it might be difficult to chew and digest, but crushing, cutting, soaking, or cooking could transform it. Fire changed the equation even further. Cooking softened food, altered its texture, and made many foods easier to digest. It also allowed humans to extract more usable energy from certain resources. That means fire wasn't just about staying warm at night. It was also a technology for changing what humans could eat. And then there was meat. Hunting large animals could provide enormous amounts of calories and nutrients, but it was risky and unpredictable. A successful hunt could feed a group for days. A failed hunt could mean wasted energy and no meal at all. That made hunting a high-risk, high-reward strategy. Smaller animals, eggs, insects, shellfish, and plant foods could sometimes provide more reliable options. Ancient humans didn't necessarily ask, what food tastes best? They had a more important question, what can we get right now without wasting more energy than we gain? This is one reason fat mattered so much. Calories are energy, and animal fat is extremely energy-dense. In environments where food was scarce, finding a rich source of fat could be incredibly valuable. Bone marrow, fatty organs, and other high-energy tissues could become important resources after a successful hunt. But ancient humans were not eating randomly. Their teeth, tools, campsites, and discarded food remains leave clues about what was happening. Archaeologists can examine animal bones for cut marks created by stone tools. Burned fragments can reveal that food was exposed to fire. Plant remains, seeds, nuts, and microscopic traces can sometimes survive in archaeological deposits. Even the chemistry locked inside ancient teeth and bones can provide clues about what people consumed and the environments they lived in. The deeper scientists look, the less the ancient diet looks like one universal recipe. And there is another misconception worth breaking. People sometimes imagine prehistoric humans as naturally healthier simply because they didn't eat modern processed food. But ancient life came with serious nutritional challenges. Food availability could change dramatically with seasons. Drought, cold, injury, disease, migration, and failed hunts could all create periods of scarcity. A person could have a diet rich in certain nutrients while still struggling to get enough total calories. Survival was not about eating a perfect diet. It was about getting enough energy and nutrients to keep moving. And then humans began doing something that completely changed the food game. They started transforming their relationship with plants and animals. Agriculture eventually allowed people to deliberately grow food rather than depending entirely on wild resources. Domestication changed landscapes, settlement patterns, and what people ate. But it also reduced dietary variety in many populations. A community depending heavily on a small number of crops could produce enormous amounts of food, yet become vulnerable when those crops failed. So the story of ancient food isn't a simple journey from healthy natural eating to modern unhealthy eating. It's a story of trade-offs. Hunter-gatherers had flexibility but faced uncertainty. Farmers gained more predictable food production but could become dependent on fewer staple crops. Modern humans gained extraordinary access to calories and variety, but introduced completely different nutritional challenges. Every food system solved some problems while creating others. So what did ancient humans actually eat? The honest answer is much more interesting than a simple list. They ate what their environment could provide, what their technology allowed them to process, and what their social group could obtain. Sometimes that meant meat, sometimes fish, sometimes roots and tubers, sometimes nuts, fruit, insects, eggs, or shellfish. And sometimes, when conditions were bad, it meant whatever edible resource could keep them alive. There was no single ancient superfood. There was no perfect prehistoric menu. There was survival. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson hidden in the archaeological record. Humans didn't survive because we found one magical food. We survived because we learned to eat almost anything our changing world could give us. The ability to adapt our diet may have been just as important as the ability to make tools, control fire, or travel across continents. Our ancestors didn't inherit a perfect menu. They inherited something more powerful, the ability to keep finding one.